what I thought was a power steering line that was dangling. I have no idea what it is that's dangling, so. You know, this is a whole day gone now, just because of this one tiny little thread at the end. Doesn't sound like it's pissing out all over the floor, so that definitely sounds like it's pissing out over the floor. Right, so upstairs we found whatever that thing is. Where the f is that coming from? So this is my Mercedes 190, which I've had for way longer than I'd like to admit. Now we actually got this car probably around 2 years ago, and I did pick it up for an absolute bargain because it's a factory manual and it's pretty much a one owner car. The guy had it for around 20 odd years or so. Now it's a super clean car, but I got it for a bargain because it had a timing chain issue. The timing chain was basically flopping around and it was skipping teeth, and it was like backfiring out the intake, and basically it needed a new timing chain. Now the only problem with that is that I didn't actually know that you can't really do timing chains on these standard engines without thousands of pounds worth of specialist Mercedes tools. In fact, someone did a write-up and it cost them around £5,000 to do the timing chain because of how many special tools he needed. So obviously that was out of the question. So we thought, if we're going to be doing that much effort, why don't we put a new engine in there? Anyway, long story short, it was our first engine swap. We learned many ways on not to do an engine swap, and it's been an absolute nightmare. And as I'm sure you guys know, being car guys, when things don't necessarily happen quickly, they end up being forgotten about and left. And this is what happened with the 190, and it's a shame because I was really excited to get this car done.
Now I promised to myself and you guys that we'd get this car done, so I kicked myself up the arse.
So after having that kick up the arse, we went to AirTech in the last episode and we got a full intercooler made as well. So right now it is making boost, so all we have to do is finish this off. So I remember, let's go back to the whiteboard, which we've not touched in months, and see what jobs we have to finish off. So what we've got to do is we've got to connect the power steering lines. Right now the power steering lines are just dragging along the floor, and they're literally, every time we turn the steering wheel, it keeps pissing power steering fluid everywhere. So we need to do that. We've actually done the intercooler, so we can take that off. We've got to do the oil level wire, which we've got to splice into. So I can't fully remember these. An oil level wire and an oil pressure switch. So basically they're just for the dash. The ECU kind of knows everything what's going on, but we just need to splice the dash into these, because right now when we start up the car, we've got the two oil lights on and the throttle cable. And there's something I forgot off there as well, and that is the exhaust. Now I am hoping that the exhaust that we have just bolts up to the manifold, but there's only one way to find out. So let's jack up the car and let's hopefully get all these done today. Now I've got a load of box of bits in the boot and I'm struggling to get it out, so I can't be asked to put the lift down. So I'm doing the thing that what any man will do is, instead of doing the easier, longer option, I'm going to do the option which is way more difficult, but you would think takes shorter. Oh my god, that is heavy. Now I'm hoping the power steering lines are in here, because I've just looked underneath the car and where I thought they were dangling, they're not. What I thought was a power steering line that was dangling, I have no idea what it is that's dangling, so a little bit worried, not gonna lie. Okay, here we go. These look like power steering lines. Now the one thing that makes this car an absolute pain, just like moving around, is how loud it is, because it's really annoying. It annoys the hell out of me, it annoys the hell out of everyone around, just how loud it is. So I think the first thing we're going to tackle is the exhaust. And now we're professional welders, we might be able to just make it work if it doesn't absolutely line up right now. I've been told it should line up depending on what year of M11 engine we got, but I think I got the right year. So I've just got the old exhaust and manifold out the boot, so I think we might have to strip it off that and probably put some new bolts in, but let's just see whereabouts it lines up. So I thought this thing was the power steering line, but I don't know what this is. I actually don't know what it is. It looks like a kind of cable of some sort.
Now the only thing I can think that this is the original choke off the original engine. I actually can't think of anything else that it could be.
The 190, this is the manifold off the 190, and you can see it has two separate exits off the 190. So you've got flange here and a flange there, whereas the M111, it's just got one single flange here. Now it actually does look like a similar kind of design, so I probably will just be able to use this flange, one of these, if I can get it off. But then this splits into two. So the issue is that the M111's got one flange, and then it goes into two on the exhaust over here, but the exhaust actually is just one. So we might be able to just use one of these pipes, and instead of either going 2 to 1 or 1 to 2, we might just be able to chop this off here, off the 190, and then just have one single pipe and just sleeve it over the straight bit, or weld it.
Now if the bolt looks like it's been on the Titanic, you grab the only tool and the one tool that works in life, and it's a grinder.
First of all, we're going to see if this is the right...
Now after a few minutes of deliberation, we did the one thing that's the most suitable in this situation, and is forget about it and move on to something else.
I'm moving on to the power steering because I'm not dealing with that all day making exhaust. I'll probably just see if exhaust works. They live so far away though. I don't know, I'm not dealing with that now. So I actually bought an adapter kit for the 190 so that I could actually use the standard 190E power steering lines. So we're going to be putting that to the test to see if it's actually working, or is it just another thing that I bought that was a waste of time. I've actually got the standard 190E power steering lines here. The annoying thing of leaving a build for this long is that you have no idea where anything goes, and that is literally the situation. I have no idea where anything goes, so I'm pretty sure these are going to bolt onto the actual pump, but then I kind of just got to realise where they go, because I have no idea. It's not like a standard, it's not like a steering rack on these cars. So I have no idea where these actually go into, and right now I'm looking at it, I'm really worried of where these actually go into, and also if I've still got space. But luckily these threads are different sizes, so I can't get them wrong. So let's try and just put it into the pump and see where it kind of sits. Okay, so I've figured it out. Right, so these are the power steering lines here, and this is the power, well, this is the top of the steering rack. So as you can see there, we need to take off this one on the right, and the other one's fine because the other one is just a push fit, so it comes down here, that line there, and then it comes here. So this is the push fit for one power steering. I'm not sure how we got to this situation. I'm pretty sure we thought we was using the M111 power steering lines, and we put them in and realised we don't have to. So this is just going to push fit onto this one here, and then we're going to have to get up there and bolt this in to the other side, and hope we've got enough room to run it up here to the power steering pump. So let's start doing that.
Now at this moment in time, I was getting really annoyed at how hard these lines were to get off with the access you've got in there, but little did I know at the time, it's about to get much worse. So after getting the other sides off the top of the steering rack, it was time to actually put these lines onto the actual power steering pump so I can see where to route them. And you can probably start seeing right now there's a little bit of confusion going on as to why this isn't threading in. Now if you're familiar with this little tool in my hand, this is called a tap, and this only comes out in really shit situations. And for anyone who hasn't been in this situation, this means that the actual thread on the power steering line is rounded, and you cannot change these without getting a brand new line.
So I've tried everything to try and clean this thread up, because if this doesn't go on, you can't just change these because it's a flare at the end. It's a whole new power steering line, and that's what it's looking like right now because I can't straighten this thread up. It's got a little bit of a kink at the top, therefore it's just not going in straight. And if it was just like a normal bolt, I'd just be able to just you know, flatten it off with a bit of a grinder and stuff, but it's not going in straight. And this is the thing. This is what takes, you know, this is a whole day gone now, just because of this one tiny little thread at the end.
But all is not lost. We have one more hope. This is a thread cleaning tool, and I stayed here doing this for around 10-15 minutes, and then pray to God it works, otherwise we're in a real bad situation. So I got an M14 by 1.5 nut to test it, and it is going on straight, so it's looking good. Please!
Alright, come on, come on, come on, please, please, please. Oh, it feels nice, it feels nice. Yes! Get wrecked. So I had to split the hoses in two because there's no way I was getting it in one. So I've got the top half on there, which was so I actually done this job twice now because I've got it to this situation. I don't even know if it is going to fit, but then I couldn't get this on to there because this was C's, and trying to get that unseized was well, actually was a and then now I've got to actually try to make sure they actually fit. It's really tight, and I'm sure that's going to be, well, it's probably absolutely terrified to cross thread anything now, but I think this is going on nicely. I had to literally heat the living shit out of this end nut with a blowtorch to get it moving, and I think that's going to be the power steering done, and see if it's leak anywhere, because I'm not 100% sure that I've got the pressure side and the non-pressure side the right way. I mean, I'm pretty sure I have, because I've kind of just, well, I'm not a complete moron, do you know what I mean? Even though some people think I am in the videos, I'm not. Right, so I'm pretty sure the lines are all tight. We're going to fill up the power steering and we're going to start the car. And we're just going to cycle it through. Let's top it up, fire up, bleed it through, pray it's not leaking, and pray it's working, and pray it's not leaking. Oh, we need a jumper. I've got the... We ain't got a battery, man. This is why I want to put the North on. What we're going to do, just turn it, cycle through.
So with the engine running, just keep turning the wheel and keep pushing all that fluid through, and eventually it will bleed out all of the air.
And no leaks. Yes, 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 yes. The only problem is this is sitting a little bit too low for my liking, because you say if we do go over a bump, it might take it out, but I can't really. I remember it sitting across like this on the 190 engine. The sumper's a little bit high. I think it'll be fine. Might just be able to just tuck it up a little bit further out of the way, but I can't go any higher than that. So it's a little bit lower than I wanted to, because if we go over a bump and that hits, that's going to be the power steering gone. But if we're going over that bumps anyway and it's going to hit the sump, it's still not ideal. So hopefully we just don't go over anything that low, but I might be able to pull it out of the way, but it's not looking that good. So for the time being, that is going to be a tomorrow job, because pretty much I'm happy with where it sits and the fact it's not leaking and the fact it's actually working, which is great considering the situation was in this morning when we couldn't even get it fucking threaded in. Now, only one of the issues we've got left now is that we currently have quite a few lights on the dash. And that's because the car, the ECU's fine, it's really fine, but the wiring we have to do is just above the dash. We've got two lights on the dash here. We've got a oil light and a water light. Okay, so first of all, we're going to get rid of, what is this? Get this out of the way. It's confusing everybody that being there, isn't it? This wire here is the oil level from the original 190. So this goes straight to the dash. The ECU doesn't know anything about this. The ECU doesn't know the oil level. This just goes straight to the dash, and if it goes low, it illuminates the light in the dash. Now, this is unplugged right now, so therefore it's illuminating the oil level light on the dash. So this here is the oil level sensor from the M111. Now, I actually can't remember if this, though, all we need to do really is just plug this wire onto this sensor. Now, I don't know if this is too short, and does it just click on? I don't actually know. I think we can just do that. I did initially think we was going to have to splice it in, but that actually goes on there fine. So we actually might just be able to use that. So let's go and start the car, and let's see if that's actually worked. Hey, that's worked. So we've only got one light in the dash now, so I didn't even have to splice that. All I have to do is just change the wiring over, which is great. I thought I actually had to splice that. So now all we've got is the coolant temperature sensor one and the oil pressure. So we've actually got an oil pressure gauge here on the original dash. That's interesting because the SLK 230 the engine that the car came out of, that didn't come with an oil pressure gauge at all. So to make that oil pressure gauge work, we have to basically put a new sensor into the engine because the engine never came with one. So if we want that oil pressure gauge to actually work, which that's being super anal, I'm not sure if I'm too bothered, to be fair. Right now it just says 3. So if we want that to work, we can actually get that original gauge to work. All we have to do is take the old sensor off the old engine, and there's actually a hole in the block on the M111 engine which you can screw into, and you can just use that wire, and then you've got an oil pressure gauge, which would be nice to have down the line, but I'm not going to prioritize it right now. So the next thing we have to do is coolant related. Now this is the original 190E coolant temperature sensor. We threaded that in here because we actually thought we was going to use it, and we obviously didn't want to lose it as well. So we've threaded that in, but that is not the sensor that we want. I've had to order 2 separate sensors, one for the M111 ECU and one for the dash. We've got 2 things that want to know the coolant temperature sensor. One of them is the engine, so it knows what air fuel ratio to do, etc. Because if it thinks it's cold, it's not going to do, you know, the correct AFRs and stuff. And then the other person who needs to know the coolant temperature sensor is me, because I'm terrified of anything overheating if we put a pipe on wrong, or if something comes off, or if something splits, or the fan's not good enough, or the radiator's not big enough. We need to know that in the car. So the most important thing at the start is for us to know that it's working properly and the temperature is correct. So basically we've got 2 things here. This is the wiring loom for the M111, and this would be the coolant temperature sensor which goes in there. So this is the new coolant temperature sensor for an M111 engine. So that plugs in. Now the ECU needs to know what temperature it is, obviously so it can do the correct fuel ratios, but it needs to know our temperature. It can't read nothing, it needs to run something. But we need to know exactly what it is. So what we need to do is we've got a universal 1-pin coolant temperature sensor here, which will now thread in here, wiring loom over here, which runs straight to the dash. So what's going to happen now is we're going to leave it like this, and we're going to leave this coolant temperature sensor somewhere around here, so it roughly knows a temperature of the engine. The ideal thing to do here would be to drill a hole through the housing, tap a thread, and then put this in. So we've got 2 different temperature sensors reading the correct temperature. Obviously that's quite scary because I'm going to have to take all this off, and I'm going to have to drill it and tap it and make sure it's all good. I have spoke to Will. He says that he's just put it in the housing. It doesn't necessarily go through the coolant temperature, the coolant, but it's getting a rough kind of temperature, so the ECU knows kind of where it's at. But he also said it is more important for you to know the exact temperature for the first few runs than it is for the engine to know the temperature, because you're the only one who's going to know if it's going to blow up or not. We're at the stage, we're going to top it up with, well, I say coolant, we're just going to do water for the time. This is going to go fucking everywhere, isn't it? Just going to do water. Oh no. Just going to do water at the time being in case it does piss out everywhere. And now I've spilt it everywhere, I'm not going to know if it's pissing out everywhere, so that's ideal, isn't it? Doesn't sound like it's pissing out all over the floor, so it's a good start. That definitely sounds like it's pissing out over the floor. Where the fuck is that coming from? So there's a water pipe here, which is definitely where all that was coming from. Obviously it goes down to there. But where the hell that goes, I have absolutely no idea. Okay, found the issue. So this pipe, I've looked over here, and obviously the heater matrix goes here. Now there is a metal pipe. I remember on the one night there was a metal pipe which kind of went down here. So this is going to be that goes through to the heater matrix. So I'm gonna have to find some metal pipe to link them to, which might be a bit of a pain. And also the other side, this pipe was just dangling, but you can see that down there, that goes in there, and then this is the other side of the heater matrix there. So I need to plumb up all this heater matrix kind of stuff, which might be a bit of a pain. So I remember taking it off when William took this off, and I've obviously just not put it back on. So I'm gonna have to do these again, lads. This is so annoying because I remember having that pipe, because it was an absolute pain to get on. and we took that pipe off when Will was here to access all the back of here. And I can't for the life of me remember where it is. And we took it off and I can't remember where I put it. It's not in the car. I can see it in my head, but I just can't see it.
So it looks like, guys, we're going back to doing what we do best. Finding stuff and making it work.
Right, so upstairs we found whatever that thing is, but it's got aluminium pipe on it, which is what we can use as a joiner. And I've actually found some more rad holes upstairs as well. So instead of having one big metal hose like we had before, we can cut that down. We've got a joiner there, and then we can use that as a joiner to join the two pieces together. And this is going to be easy because I remember that pipe being an absolute pain in the ass to fit. So with this, we're going to have a load more flexibility, and we can actually make it a nicer fit as well, because that other one did not fit very good at all. So what we've got now, whatever it looks like, it is actually better.
So after fitting our new joiners and our new coolant pipe, we're ready to go again.
Right, let's fire her up and let's see if the temperature's working, and let's see if we've got any leaks. It's not leaking at the minute, which is great. So let's turn it on. So we have a temperature gauge. Temperature gauge is working. Our coolant now is off. This has come up because I had the wrong one plugged in. I had this one plugged into the coolant. Anyway, so well, I mean, we are low on washer fluid, so it's not lying. It is all working now. We got power steering, which is great. Got the blowers on full. The blowers are working. Though I can't go. I'm missing the thing here. I don't know how to go to max. I can only go up to there. I'm not sure what's going on, but yeah, that's working. But we're so close to driving. But the one thing we need to do is we've not got a pedal. So we'll have a look at that in a minute and see what the hell's going on there. All I need to do is just need to get a throttle cable, but I'm just not sure how the end goes on this side. I know it's a ball, or like a ball joint on the other, like a rose joint kind of thing, plastic rose joint. I just don't know how it goes on this side. But all we need is a cable to run the drive-by wire. So we just need a throttle cable to do the throttle on the flyby, and then it sends an electronic signal over to the throttle. So we got coolant now, which is good. I hope this fan and this radiator setup is enough to keep it cool. There's tons of room in there, so there's going to get tons of airflow. It's not like the E30 where it's just, you know, being strangled in there. So we're going to let it get up to temperature and let it fully bleed out, and then just top it up with some coolant, because I don't think we've got any leaks now either. So I can't see any leaks, which is good. It's so loud. I need to make an exhaust soon, very quick. There's no leaks either. No leaks here. So I thought the throttle cable was actually going to be a little bit more difficult than I thought, but we can actually have this up and running today. It just depends how bodgy we want to be. So what we can do, all we need to do, I've had a look, this literally just goes into the footwell. This is the 190E cable. This goes into the footwell and that goes around on the rod, and that just pulls like that. So it's pretty simple. So all we have to do is, I'm pretty sure, this is pretty similar to the one on the 190, but this one is a ball joint, and I don't know what this kind of design was. It's different. Now, if you want to be 100% bodge, we can literally just weld this to that. They're both strong. That's steel. This is steel. That's thick. It will just take a bit of weld, and then that will literally just pull it. You know, like, and we're done. But what I'm going to try and do is I'm going to see if there's any kind of rose joints around here that will fit over that, and then we can just weld the rose joint to the end of here, and then actually have it as a removable rose joint. You don't want it too tight so it doesn't go over the rose joint, but you don't want it too loose where it doesn't just keep falling off. So I'm going to have a look round, and then if not, I'm literally just going to put a few tacks on there so we can get it driving, and then think of a different solution down the road and just grind it off. So I was literally put a couple of tacks on there, and then that we're going to literally have a foot throttle. So let me go see if there's any rose joints lying around that are that size, and then we'll yeah, let's see what we can make. But before we start thinking of an idea, I'm actually going to put this onto the throttle cable in the car so we know how much room we've got. So let's literally like that, and there's a hole down there somewhere. I can't think where, but it's, oh, there it is. And I'm pretty sure this just pushes in to here. So there's a hole here, and what that rod there is, that is literally the throttle cable, the throttle pedal. So we're going to push that through. and then we're going to attach to the rod first, and then I'm pretty sure it just clicks in there like that. So this is the throttle cable, so we're going to take off this spring through there, put that on, spring back on, and that is our throttle cable. So we're going to go for the other side and just push it nice and tight. There we go, that's nice and solid on there.
And as I said earlier, just until we can order the correct end for the throttle cable, we're just going to tack it in place so it's working.
So I was going to end the video putting the headlights back in and like kind of seeing it as a car. I can't get them, I just can't get them. They're screws, they're not bolts, right? They're screws, and I've tried every single size screw I can possibly think of, and it's not working. They're not going on. And I'm not, as you can see, the state of me from doing all this today, I'm not spending 45 minutes putting a headlight on. So, what's left to do? We've got a throttle cable, done the power steering. Let's go over to the board. Let's go over to the board. Oil level wire, that is on. Oil pressure switch, well, we can leave that. We don't really need to do that. Throttle cable, that is done. And with some other things that we've done that we didn't think we needed to do, like the coolant and all that kind of stuff. So everything is done. All we need to do is an oil pressure switch, which isn't even that, it's not really that important. That engine never came with one anyway, and the ECU never came with one, so that's just like an extra thing for the dash to work. So we will do it if we're going to sell the car, but for now it's not really a big deal. The main thing is the exhaust. Do I do it myself, or do I get someone else to do it? I'm leaning towards doing it myself, because the only person who I like trust to do these things, or I know won't, you know, overcharge me for doing a little job, is Horseworks, and he's 300 miles away. And all I need to do is literally make a little elbow. So I literally might just give it a go myself. I'm going to go have a look around the back now and see if there's like just some flanges, just some 2-bolt flanges. But I can easily order just a 2-bolt flange. And we've actually got pipe work here. We've got exhaust pipe in, and we've actually got like a pipe bender and stuff, and a pipe spreader. So I can actually do it. It'd be nice to test out my welding skills as well. So I think I'm just going to do it myself. I'm going to give it a go. So I think in the next episode, I think I'm going to go away now and get all the bits that I need. Have a look if we've got all the bits that I need. And in the next episode, we're going to make the exhaust, and then put the last few bits on, and we're going to go for a drive. Because this car is actually insured. Like, it is actually insured. So all I'd have to do is just tax it and then drive it to an MOT station. No, we don't even need to tax it. You can't tax it to an MOT. So we're going to literally go for the first drive and drive it to an MOT station. We're going to drive it around the car park first, make sure everything feels good, make sure it will pass an MOT. But let's do that. So I need to get the car off the trailer, the E30 off the trailer. I need to tidy up a little bit. But thanks for watching, everyone. We're going to get it done finally. I can't believe it. So, in the next episode, we're going to drive this thing. So I love you all, and we'll see you in the next one.